All right, guys, good morning. Today's December 22nd. We're going to talk about the reemergence of ISIS. So, the mainstream media would have us believe that ISIS was defeated several years ago when Trump took out al-Baghdadi. That was never really the case. ISIS always stayed around. They just kind of went underground. A lot of them were arrested. They were regrouping and recruiting. And now it appears as though they're beginning to reemerge. So there have been a lot of attacks against the Shiite populations in Iraq and Syria. There have been a lot of attacks against the Kurds. And what it appears as though ISIS is beginning to conduct coordinated attacks, not just in the Middle East, but all over the world, really. Just the other day, we had 10 people killed in Uganda by ISIS affiliates. There were several people killed in the Philippines and Marawi, and several more injured. They attacked a church. Right. Turkey is now putting out arrest warrants for 33 people that are affiliated with ISIS and the Gulen movement. And India conducted several raids, dozens of raids all across their country, and ended up arresting 8 members of ISIS. The concerning thing is what Turkey is warning us about, and that's their claim that ISIS is affiliated with the Gulen movement. Why is that concerning? Well, Fethullah Gulen is the leader of the Gulen movement, and he's basically a Muslim leader here in the United States, and he runs a bunch of charter schools. Now, Sibel Edmonds blew the whistle on the Gulen charter schools several years ago. What she was claiming is that these charter schools are laundering money in support of Islamic extremist activities in the Middle East. Now, that much we pretty much knew, but what Erdogan and Turkey is saying is that they are also associated with ISIS. And if that's the case, then there's a high probability that the Gulen movement is I don't want to say proxy, but a asset of essentially the deep state. Is a deep state asset. Why do I say that? Because we know that the deep state, the State Department, Hillary Clinton's State Department, gave a lot of weapons to ISIS and Al-Qaeda during the Syrian war. Right? We also know that Israel was giving weapons, money, and medical assistance to ISIS in Syria. How do we know that? Because Haaretz reported on it, and the Times of Israel reported on it. So, when Israel calls Hamas ISIS, it's couldn't be farther from the truth, because ISIS was doing the activities that Israel wanted them to do. They were fighting the people who would fight against Israel, right? They were fighting the Shiites and other organizations that, or rather groups that would stand against Israel. So why do I bring this up? Why do I bring this up? Because what we're seeing in the region right now is the two major Islamic factions, the Sunnis and the Shiites, are beginning to war against themselves. The Shiite sect is emerging as a very powerful force over there right now. The Shiites are essentially Iran, right? And Iran has their proxies surrounding Israel right now. So you've got Hezbollah to the north, you've got Yemen to the south, and they're supplying their weapons to both those factions. And not just that, but they've also got the IRGC essentially just running freely through Syria and Iraq, with all of their weapons being funneled into Syria. So that being said, it would make sense for Israel and the deep state to essentially reboot or reform ISIS if ISIS was in fact an asset of the deep state, right? That way they could fight Iran by proxy and not have to worry about deploying troops on multiple fronts yet, right? This is kind of like a mercenary conflict. They're paying, this is speculation on my part, but nevertheless, this speculation comes from understanding the situation as it was reported on in the past, okay? So, all that being said, it's going to be really important for us to keep our eyes on this, because, if you're a student of prophecy, then you understand that in the end, a lot of Christians are going to be rounded up, captured, and beheaded, right? This is most likely going to happen before the rapture. Why do I say that? Because in Revelation, the book of Revelation, there is a scene where a large group of beheaded Christians approach God and ask him, when is he going to get justice for them, right? Because they were all beheaded. And essentially God tells them to wait until the rest of their brothers and sisters are martyred, right? And then he gives them a white robe, if I'm not mistaken, and tells them to wait just a little bit longer, right? So what we're seeing in that scene, the way I understand it, is that during the tribulation, there is a group of people that capture Christians and cut their heads off. That is a calling card of ISIS, okay? That's something that ISIS does right now, okay? That's something they enjoy doing, okay? So that being said, now is the time to pray for your brothers and sisters in the Middle East that they would evade capture, okay? Or that if they're captured, that they would remain bold and trust in their salvation, okay? And not deny the faith. Because that is what ISIS does when they capture people. They try to get them to convert to Islam by denying the faith. And if they don't deny the faith, then they cut your head off, okay? So ISIS is an international organization. That being said, their activities are not just isolated in the Middle East, right? There have been a lot of people in the United States already arrested who were attempting to join ISIS. All right, we've seen attacks all over the world, okay? And these things are going to continue to happen, right? I can't say for certain that they have reemerged because they got funding from Israel to help them fight the Iranians in the Middle East. I can't say that with certainty. I cannot, okay? It's speculation that it's a possibility, okay? Why is it a possibility? Because it would free up Israeli forces to focus on one front at a time, right? Is that the case? I don't know. Like I said, I want to reiterate the point that is speculation on my part, okay? We are going in a very turbulent time, okay? We're seeing supply chains get cut off and blockades in the Red Sea. Iran was warning also about blockades in the Mediterranean, right? They have allies in Venezuela which could attempt to place blockades in the Gulf of Mexico and cut off the supply of crude oil to the refineries in the Gulf. Not just that, but they could also attempt to place blockades on our East Coast. It'd be a little bit harder for them to do on the East Coast, but I think it'd be possible for them to do that in the Gulf Coast. A little bit easier for them to do it in the Gulf. Nevertheless, you know, I'm bringing all this stuff up to you guys so that you would be aware of the threats that are posed to us right now, right? This topic that we're talking about today is a very small blip on the radar of things that are going on today. It's not something that the mainstream media is talking about, and that's why I'm bringing it up, okay? You know, the whole premise of my channel is that I bring you uncommon news, not news that is being widely reported, okay? And for that reason, you know, sometimes when we talk about things, they tend to be a week or two in advance of everybody else. So, like I said, their activities are not as many as they used to be at their height, but it does appear as though the ISIS engine is starting to get cranked up again, right? So watch out for that, and always be ready, always be prepared, speak out against it, and keep your head on a swivel, always stay strapped. And I'm going to reiterate this point because I always, when I'm talking about prepping, I always try to reiterate this point. Always have the ability to chlorinate your water or to treat water somehow. And I place a very strong emphasis on chlorine because chlorine is very capable as a disinfectant, all right? Not only that, but chlorine has also been shown to destroy certain toxins, certain algae toxins that cannot be filtered out otherwise, right? So, you know, we know that in the end, there's going to be a lot of problems with the water. It's going to turn red. It's going to be bitter. People aren't going to be able to drink it. They'll drink it, they'll die. And so that being said, you need to have the ability to treat your water. And that's one of the reasons why I always have some form of chlorine with me. You know, this little packet of chlorine, each one of these little pills, there's 10 of them in there. Each one of those pills is enough chlorine to treat 5 gallons of water. So a 5-gallon bucket of water, I just put one of these little pills in there, and it chlorinates the whole bucket. All right, I got 10 of them, right? That's 50 gallons of water that I can treat right here. It's in my EDC kit, right? And this thing costs less than $2, okay? That's a month's worth of water that I could chlorinate for less than $2, okay? You can get these things on Amazon. I'm not, you know, this isn't an advertisement or anything. I care about you guys, okay? And that's why I always like to reiterate this. You know, 5th generational warfare seems to be the way that things are going right now. And in that vein, right? They always try to target critical infrastructure. That's the number one name of the game, 5th generational warfare, right? The biggest targets are infrastructure, right? So that being said, the most important part of our infrastructure is our water utilities, right? Electricity can go, you know, a lot of people would die if there's no electricity, no heat, whatever. But even more people would die if there's no water utility. There's no water treatment plant, right? And, you know, and even if your city gets bugged out, or if there's a natural disaster, you got to leave and you can't get anywhere right away because the road's blocked off. You got no access to water. There's no stores around because you were trying to flee, and the only water you got is maybe a pond over there. Well, at least you got your chlorine. At least you got your 5-gallon bucket, right? Anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video with that. I know I'm went a little bit long on the prepping aspect. All right, I apologize for that, but I love you guys, and I want you to be prepared. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You got something out of the video, please give it a thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe. Merry Christmas, everybody. I say Merry Christmas. I know some of you guys say Happy Holidays. Don't get offended to me if I respond to that with Merry Christmas. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, don't forget, help out your neighbors. Bye.